2 to 3 weeks and finish off my portions. That was the usual way I do, because I take time to finish up the portion. I don't normally rush up the portions. Students may not grasp the thing. So without going into much details, I will be moving to my presentation. So whatever you see today, I won't be discussing much. Today there is no quiz, because whatever we discussed yesterday in the last class was nothing but minor pests and some predators. That's the only thing. So whatever we discussed today is for exam purpose mainly, but you have to understand this when you are in a field scenario also. It's important for exam purpose, because in 90% of the final exam question paper of this course, this question will be there for the essay, for as a 10-mark question. Write an essay on integrated pest management in rice. So here I won't be discussing each and everything, because we have discussed all the things when we're discussing individual pests. But this is just for your information. And one thing you have to keep in mind is that whenever you are in a field for addressing an issue in a farmer's field, you should be having a clear-cut understanding of a integrated management, pest management price, because the farmer may be facing a complex problem. And one more thing is that if there is a stem borer infestation or leaf folder infestation, you may be recommending an insecticide. But one thing you should keep in mind is that the root cause may be something, say leaf folder. So if there is a leaf folder damage, it's easy way to manage that problem with an insecticide. But whenever you are trying to address a field problem, try to gather as much information from the farmer and try to solve the mistakes he has done, which resulted in the high incidence of insect pests. I told you an example wherein a farmer has applied heavy dose of nitrogen, and it has led to severe infestation of leaf fold. Or if a farmer has gone for closer planting of rice, and he had heavy infestation of rice BPH. So in those scenario, a simple recommendation of insecticide won't work. We have to correct his mistakes. You have to advise the farmer that whatever you did had gone wrong. So whenever you are going for next crop, you should correct this. You should follow a proper fertilizer recommendation. You should have an understanding of an integrated nutrient management in rice. What is the fertilizer recommendation? What are the splits? You should have an understanding of that. And if the case of BPH, you should recommend the farmer to go for recommended seed rate and recommended plant spacing. So all those things matters whenever we are going for recommendation in the field. It's not with respect to recommendation of an insecticide alone. So that's the relevance of integrated pest management. I will just quickly go through it. The first and foremost thing is the practices. We will divide according to the IPM practices. The first will be cultural practices. In that, there is one recommendation of growing green manure crops like danger. Danger is nothing related to pest management, but mainly danger will add to the soil. What it adds to the soil? It improves the soil condition, especially it improves the soil organic manure. If we improve the soil organic manure, the crop will be more and more healthy. If the crop is healthy, crop will resist insect pest infestation. So soil is the base or the foundation of a crop. We have to address any soil issues, because incorporating organic manure in soil is very difficult task, because if anyone remembers the manure recommendation in paddy field, it is about 2.5 tons or per 5 tons per acre, 5 tons per hectare. That means about 2 tons per acre. So 2 tons of organic manure applying in a rice field is very difficult, but organic manure is very critical for soil. So we can go for alternates such as green manuring with danger. We can use resistant varieties which are resistant to gall mitch, BPH, etc. Typical example is Umayan's race, which is resistant to both BPH and gall mitch. Then if there is an area where garbage is severe, we can go for seed and seedling treatment. One of your friends has asked me a doubt. I had told during the management of garbage that if yeah, the infestation is if you see the symptom, that is the silver shoot symptom, then already the damage has occurred. Then application of any pesticide won't give any desired result because the damage has already been done. So if in that case, once you see the symptom, what is the purpose of going for management? So in those areas which have a problem of garbage, we should advise the farmers. Already this season, already the damage has occurred. For the next season, advise the farmers to go for seed or seedling treatment with chlorpyrifos. Then we have discussed in detail about the timely planting, sowing, the synchronous planting with uniform maturing varieties, and timely planting because we have seen late planting in Niripu leads to garbage infestation. Late planting in Punja leads to higher infestation of BPH. So try to avoid all those. Go for timely planting. But this theoretically we can say because all this planting and all depends on weather. With the haphazard weather which we are having, this kind of timely planting may not be always possible. But try to go for timely planting as much as possible. Then destruction of leftover nursery because this leftover nursery will harbor insect pests. And proper spacing and seed rate, as I have told you, if you are going for closer spacing, you will have higher incidence of BPH and leaf folder. Then improve aeration by providing alleyways every 3 meters. This will help to reduce BPH damage. As insect pests such as rice bug and armyworm multiply on weed host, we have to manage weeds thoroughly. Then balance nutrition, avoid excess use of nitrogen. Most many a times farmer reduce the dose of potassium, it will increase the susceptibility of the crop to insect pests. And one thing you have to keep in mind is that uh, how many elements is considered as what's the number of elements considered as essential for crop growth? Anyone? How many elements are essential? What is the number of elements essential for crop growth? That's in the first course itself you might have studied. 17 years, good. So we have 17 essential elements, and just like human beings, we have an array of vitamins, minerals, protein, fats, carbohydrates, all are essential for our proper growth. If we face any shortage or deficiency of any of this, it will affect our health. It will make us vulnerable for any infection or infestation. In a similar manner, if the crop doesn't receive enough nutrition, if any of the essential nutrient is deficient in the soil or we are unable to supply it, the crop will turn susceptible to pest infestation. So we have to provide a balanced nutrition. That is very critical. We have discussed about water management. Certain pests can be managed by flooding, but certain pests can be managed by draining the field. Flooding will help to manage armyworm, draining will help to manage caseworm, etc. Then harvesting close to the ground level that we have discussed in the case of temporer, because that will help to remove the pupae or larval stages of stem borer remaining in the stubbles. Then once the crop is harvested, plow the field thoroughly and flood the water. Again, it will help to kill all the hibernating insects. So all these things we have discussed and just giving it in a point-wise manner so that you can easily write it in Excel. Then mechanical practices, we have discussed about clipping the leaf tip where the egg masses are present, egg mass of stem borer is present. So this unknowingly farmers do at the time of transplanting, they clip the seedling tips. And another mechanical practice what we have discussed is passing ropes over the crop to dislodge cases of caseworm. Then going to biological control, we have discussed about trichocards. One thing you have to keep in mind is that I have just mentioned trichocards. So whenever you are writing for exam or when you are discussing about trichocards to a farmer, you should be able to explain how trichocards are used. What is the recommended rate? What at what interval we have to use trichocards? At what stage of the crop we should install trichocards? So that should be mentioned. The biocontrol agents such as Bavaria can be used, BT can be used. Then we should conserve natural enemies. You should be able to write names of a few natural enemies such as coccinellids, spiders, dragonflies, damselflies. Name of a few coccinellids such as Chilomenus, Harmonia. All those things you should be able to write. Then regarding physical method, we can write list light trap as one big physical method which can be used in IPM in rice. We can use pheromone traps. Then whatever be the chemical control, it should be based on economic threshold level. So this is with respect to IPM in rice. This isn't just point wise. I have just listed. This is just for a what to say a gist of what IPM in rice. You can elaborate on these points. Only points I have listed. Okay. Now I will be moving on to pests of wheat and sorghum. Once Manisa was telling, our head Manisa was discussing one thing. We in PG and PhD program we have a qualifying viva where there will be an external exam and there will be a viva encompassing all the courses we have learned during our PG and PhD program. The external examiner will be a very senior entomologist from any of the universities, not from our university. It will be external person. So uh, the invigilator asked Manisha, "What is your favorite crop?" Manisha told cotton. So the invigilator laughed at Manisha and told, "Why you answered cotton? Because cotton is having the most number of insects attacking the crop. If I were in your seat and the question was posed to me, I would have answered wheat because wheat is a crop with least number of insects. In wheat, you might have studied in pathology, there are several insects which damage the crop, several diseases that very serious in rice crop, but the number of insects which severely damage wheat is very less. So that is with respect to wheat, the number of insects is low. But the thing now what we face is with the change in the cultivation practice of wheat, we are slowly seeing a few instances of insect infestation in wheat. So now we have, but sometimes we have severe infestation of aphids, termites. Termites earlier also it was very severe in wheat. So all those things can add to the pest problem in wheat. So it's not that scenario earlier, but still the number of insects attacking wheat is very low. I'll be sharing my PPT. So if you see the list of pests, the first one is aphids. There are different species of aphids which attack wheat, such as Macrocyphum miscanthi, Citobion avene. Citobion avene is a pest which is seen in most of the cereal crops, which is rabi cereal crops. That means during cereal crops grown during winter. Then we have Rafalocyphum maedis, Schiza visgraminum, Mysus persicae. All aphids belong to the family Aphidae of order Hemiptera. So remember at least one or two names. Mysus persicae, this name will be repeating several times during this course. Rafalocyphum maedis, Schiza graminum, Microcyphum miscanthi, all are mainly attacking gramineous crops. Then we have next pest that is climbing cutworm or armyworm. It's Mithimna separated. It's not the armyworm in rice. The armyworm in rice is product from Mauritius. This is mainly it is called as climbing cutworm because it cuts the ear heads, not the entire plant. So it's called as climbing cutworm. It's called scientific name is Mithimna separator, belonging to the family Noctuidae of Lepidoptera. Then we have gram porpora helicopa armigera. This name it will be there throughout the two best of crops course you study this year and this semester and next semester. This is one of the notorious pests which in extremely polyphagous attack several crops, vegetables, cereals, etc., cotton. So it's a very polyphagous pest. Then Gujia weevil, this is a pest which is specific to wheat. So remember the scientific name Gujia weevil, Tanimacus indicus, as it is a weevil, its family is Curculionidae. Then as I told you, termites can be a major problem in wheat. Termite species infesting wheat are Odontotermus obesus and Microtermus obesi. Odontotermus obesus and Microtermus obesi belonging to the family Termitidae of order Isoptera. Then we have shoot fly. We will be discussing shoot fly several times in the next few classes because the shoot fly will be a pest infesting several cereals. So we have Atrigona naqui belonging to the family Mucidae of Diptera. Then we have wheat thrips, Anaphothrips sudanensis. This is a new pest. Earlier it was not severe in wheat, but now wheat thrips, Anaphothrips sudanensis is a major pest in wheat. So we have aphids, Mysis persicae, Rafalocyphum maydis, Macrocyphum mixcanthi, Citobium navini. Remember at least one or two names. Then we have the cutworm, climbing cutworm that is Methymna separator. Then the gram podopora, Helicopa armigera. We have Gujia weevil, Tinymachus indicus, which is a pest specific to wheat. Then the termites, Microtermus obesi and Odontotermus obesus. We have shoot fly that is Atherigona naqui belonging to the family Mucidae, which is the most common insect in the family Mucidae, which is the most common insect in the family Mucidae. Forgot? Yes, housefly. Then we have wheat thrips, Anaphothrips, sudanensis. Good. So first we will move on to wheat aphid macrocyphum miscanthi. I may be moving a bit fast because wheat is not a major crop and doesn't have much insect pest, so I'll be moving a bit fast. As I told you, most of the aphids which seen in cereals, especially in rabi cereals, infest a variety of crops such as wheat, barley, oats, etc. These are all rabi cereals. It's not kharif. Wheat, barley, oats, etc. require a cooler climate. And just like in the case of any sucking pest, we can easily write the nature of damages nymphs and adults suck sap from the plants. And in case of this wheat aphid, they mainly suck sap from the ears, ear head, not from the leaves. Ear leaves, it also attacks the leaf, but it is mainly from ear head. And the aphid attack in the wheat is severe if there is a cold and weather condition is cold and cloudy. This is in the case of most of the rabi crop, the aphid infestation gets uh, increased if there is a cold and cloudy weather. In mustard aphid is a major pest in mustard cultivation. Again, it is a rabi oilseed. So there is a very huge positive correlation with the weather parameters such as minimum temperature. If the minimum temperature goes down, it favors the aphid multiplication. If there is a cloudy weather, then again it favors aphid multiplication. So here also, the cold and cloudy weather increases the damage by wheat aphid. It damages mainly ears, or can also damage leaves, but sucks sap mainly from ears. If the farmers go for heavy manuring, heavy irrigation, and if the crop is succulent because of manuring and irrigation, the crop is more susceptible to aphid infestation. That's why I told you certain cultural practices has contributed to an increased insect infestation in wheat. That is mainly because of high manuring and high irrigation. So because of aphid infestation, there will be honeydew excretion, and this honeydew will lead to the formation of sooty mold. This honeydew will fall over the upper surface of the leaf, and on that upper surface of the leaf, the sooty mold fungus will grow. So nymphs and adults suck sap from ears. The damage is severe during cold and cloudy weather. The farmer goes for heavy manuring and irrigation. The crop becomes succulent and more susceptible to aphid infestation. And because of the excretion of honeydew by the aphids, we have sooty mold over the crop. So this is the picture wherein you can see the aphids congregating on the leaf sheet. You can see it over here. And coming to the management, we can plant tall border crops such as maize, sorghum, millets to reduce the pest population. What we can do is just like a boundary wall around our crop, we can plant tall border crops such as maize, sorghum, millets, etc. So what it will do is we'll plant wheat. Wheat are extremely short stated. Hardly it will reach 60 centimeter height, 2 feet height. On the border, we will plant maize or sorghum. Maize or sorghum are quick growing. It grows to more than 1.5 meter height. So it will act as a boundary wall around the main crop, that is wheat. And this boundary wall will prevent the entry of aphids. I will ask you one question: how insects communicate? Or I will ask it in another way: how insect gets the information that there is a wheat crop or any crop which is a host plant to that insect is planted in a particular field. That means you have planted rice in an area where rice was not planted for so many years. So you planted rice in a fallow area. Immediately after planting, you will be seeing stem borer, leaf folder, etc. How insects gets that information that you have planted rice in a particular area? How? How that information is received? How that information is passed on? You can make a guess also, not an exam. So, has anyone thought about it? Pheromones, Abhilash, pheromones. Remember, one thing is pheromones. It's chemicals involved in intraspecific communication between the insects. We can, in a broad sense, we can say it as allelochemicals. That means chemicals involved in communication within the species and between the allelochemicals are chemicals. Sorry, I'll clarify it. Semiochemicals, yes, sensing plant chemicals. Semiochemicals are the chemicals involved in communication, volatile chemicals involved in communication. If the communication is between individuals of the same species, then it is pheromone. Allelochemicals are those chemicals which are involved in communication between two different species. So here we have plant, one species, and insect, another species. So these are allelochemicals. So this chemicals released, the volatile chemicals which is released from the plant attracts the insects towards it. So if we have a border crop such as maize, sorghum, millets, etc., which is not favored by the aphid, the volatiles emanating outside will be mainly that of maize, sorghum, millets, etc., which are not favored by the aphid. So this is one way to manage the insect pest. Yes, several students have given the correct answer. Sona, Anchana, Amaljit, etc. Good. Then we can go for, if it is severe, we can go for spraying with quinarphos at the rate of 2 ml per liter or thiamethoxam at the rate of 1 to 2 gram per 10 liter. Thiamethoxam is specific for sucking pests, so we can go for spraying of thiamethoxam. The trade name is Actera, or 1 to 2 gram per 10 liter. Quinarphos is 2 ml per liter. This recommendation I have given for per acre, so you can take either of the way. And usually aphid infestation occurs in small patches in the border area. So in that case, if the infestation is at the early stage, only in small patches, you can go for spot application. Do not go for spraying on the entire wheat plot. Go for only spot application. So this is just regarding the management of wheat aphid. Then we can go for the next pest, that is Armyworm methylena separator. As the name indicates, we usually have huge numbers of this insect when we see an outbreak of Methymna separator. The early stage larvae feeds on the tender leaf. Later only it will shift to older leaf. So early stage larvae feeds on the tender leaf. In the tender leaf, in the early stage larvae skeletonizes the leaf. It feeds on the green matter. But later stage larvae feeds the leaf completely. It will completely defoliate the plant. But early stage larvae, it feeds only on the green matter and skeletonize the leaf. The veins will be remain. But if once the larvae grows, it completely feeds on the leaf, even the midrib. And because of this complete defoliation of the leaf, the plant looks as if grazed by cattle. Pashu തിന്ന പോലെ കാണും. That term we have studied in the case of rice amoeba. And these are bigger larvae. It throws of large fecal pellets. That is also another typical symptom of army worms. And just like an army, will be there in larvae will be there in huge numbers, and they will migrate from one field to another. In addition to leaves, it also feeds on ears also. So armyworm, Methymna separator, the early stage in larvae feeds on the tender leaves and skeletonize it. Later stage larvae completely defoliate the plant, and the field looks as if grazed by cattle. The larvae moves from one field to another, and sometimes it feeds on ears also, not only the leaf. So this is the picture of armyworm Methymna separator. There are few instances of armyworm damage in Kerala also. This Methymna separator damage in Kerala also. Not always, but sometimes. I haven't seen it personally. I've seen only one or two photographs personally. I haven't seen it. Then management, collection and destruction of larvae, installation of bird perches, etc. So all those things, because these are large larvae, birds easily picks up. Anyone from Pathanamthitta in your batch? Anyone from Pathanamthitta? No. Okay. Last week we had a severe outbreak of a caterpillar pest in Pathanamthitta. That pest is called as plague caterpillar Tiracola plagiata. This year we had a few infestation in Ernakulam, that is in Putrika, then Srigandapuram in Kannur. So this year we had a few infestation of that pest, plague caterpillar Tiracola plagiata. I have just typed it. This is a polyphagous pest, but the scenario in Pathanamthitta was entirely different. This was just another similar to army work. There was about 10 or 11 acres of rubber. The rubber was completely covered with that cover crop, that is Puraria. And these larvae migrated in large numbers, just like an army from that rubber plantation into the houses just adjacent to that estate. And it was there in thousands, maybe in lakhs. The scientists who visited the houses, they informed me that uh, there were huge stench of decaying larvae. All the larvae were they sprayed some insecticide, they used some bait and all, and because of that, the larvae got killed, huge numbers, and all around the houses, the larvae, dead bodies of larvae were present, and they were rotting. Huge, it was very foul odor. It was emanating from them, and all the families shifted from that from their home because of this. So sometimes this kind of infestation can happen. So don't think that if I tell like it moves like army, don't think just a minute. So this kind of outbreaks, just like if we tell, it moves like in huge numbers, just like an army, it can happen sometime. If you see only, then only you realize it. Once I had heard that thing, I have not seen personally, but once in Andhra, I think that was about 10 years back, there was an outbreak of Spodoptera or Helicoverpa, and I think Spodoptera. And this outbreak, this Spodoptera larvae were moving from one field to another like an army, and they crossed highway. They crossed a highway which was passing through this paddy between this field. They crossed the highway, and while they were crossing this highway in lakhs of numbers, they were crushed by the vehicles. And after about an hour, transportation had to be stopped in that highway because the entire highway was with crushed larvae, and the vehicles were finding it difficult to get grip onto that road. So these kind of situations can happen. So don't think that this kind of army-like scenario is an imagination or just exaggeration. No, it can happen. So coming to the next pest, Gugia weevil, Tanimicus indicus. This Gugia weevil, remember this name because this is a pest which is seen only in wheat. You don't normally see it in other crops. And it is a weevil pest which cut the seedlings. So this is a seedling pest, attacks only the seedling stage. So it cut adult weevils, not the grubs. Adults we will cut the germinating seedlings. It's a sporadic pest. Sometimes only it comes, and we can manage by testing with malathion. Just remember, it is a adult is damaging. It's a pest at cutting the seedlings. These things only you have to remember. This is the picture of Gugia weevil. The next one is Gram Portboro Helicopa armigera. This Helicopa armigera, this is a pest which we will discuss a lot, mainly in the case of cotton, vegetables, etc. This is a polyphagous pest. The larvae, young larvae feeds on leaf initially, but later shift towards fruiting bodies. In tomato, it attacks fruit. Cotton, it attacks the balls. In wheat, the crop which we are discussing, it feeds on the grain. So its habit is to feed on the economic part, the fruiting part. So what it will do is it will feed on the ears. Here we are discussing about wheat. It feeds on the grains. It will thrust its head into the grain while the body will be remaining outside. In the case of cotton also, Dr. Ranjit will be handling that. What it will do is its head will be inside the cotton ball and the body will be remaining outside the cotton ball. So that is the typical feeding habit of Helicoverpa, whatever be the crop. So the caterpillar feeds by thrusting the head inside the grain, and the rest of the body will be remaining outside, and it will feed the entire inner content of the grain, and the grain will turn hollow. So this is with respect to Helicoverpa. Larvae feeds on the ears by thrusting its head inside the grain, and the body will be remaining outside. So you can see a Helicoverpa on a wheat ear. So we can go for intercropping with crops such as cowpea, onion, maize, etc. Whenever we are going for an intercropping with a crop, you have to make sure that that intercrop is not a preferred crop of that pest. Here, onion, maize, cowpea is not a crop preferred by Helicoverpa. So if we go for an intercropping with cowpea, onion, maize, which is not preferred by Helicoverpa, we can reduce the infestation of Helicoverpa. For those all larvae, if the larvae is bigger in size, we can install bird perches because the birds can easily pick up. And all those insects which are seen outside, see Helicoverpa, I told you, the body of the larvae will be remaining outside. Only the head will be inside the fruiting body. So the larvae can easily pick up. So in those cases also we can go for installation of bird perches. If it is severe, you can go for Quinalphos 2 ml per liter. I'm just quickly going through because wheat it's not that a major crop with respect to pest management, that's fine. Then coming to the next one, that is termite, Odontotermus obesus or Microtermus obesi, both can damage the crop. This is a major pest in wheat. So we will discuss it in bit detail. This is a pest which attacks the crop immediately after sowing, that is in the seedling stage, as well as at the time of harvest. So at both stages they can, because at the time of harvest there can be some drought kind of scenario because water may be short. So drought kind of situation may be prevailing and it can lead to the multiplication of termites. These termites feeds on roots, stems and dead tissues. It feeds on roots, stems and it mainly prefers dead tissues. So that's why during a drought kind of scenario it survives, because drought leads to the drying of the crop and it can feed on the dead tissues. Because of the feeding of the termites, the plant gets dried up completely and can be easily pulled out because the roots will be fed by the termites. So if you try to pull out, there won't be any roots remaining in the soil. It can be easily pulled out. The plants will get dried out, and because of the feeding and drying of the roots of and drying of the leaf, the panicles which emerge will be white tear symptom, just like what we have discussed about stem borer in rice. Because the developing panicle or the ear, here it is ear, won't receive any nutrition. So it will be white tear and their things will be chaffy. And as I already told you, if the crop is facing any water shortage, that means if there is an unirrigated condition prevailing in the crop, and if they use undecomposed farmyard manure, then termite infestation can increase. So this is a pest mainly seen in the seedling stage. Sometimes it can be seen in the harvesting stage also. Once it is near maturity, it feeds on roots, stems, dead tissues, etc. As it feeds on the roots, the plant gets dried up and it can be easily pulled out and produces white ears because of the infestation of termites. And drought conditions and use of undecomposed FIM favors the multiplication of termites. Coming to the management, termites, it's a soil insect. Its termite area will be in the soil and we have to go for deep plowing during summer. I will finish within a minute. Use only well-rotten farmyard manure and avoid late sowing of the crop, because late sowing will lead to water shortage at the end. Water shortage means chance of termite infestation. Dismantle termitaria, I think we all know termitaria. നമ്മുടെ ചെതൽപുറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധനമാണ്. So that is the word the colony of termites does. So dismantle termitaria, and we can use neem cake, broadcast the neem cake in the field at the rate of 80 kg per acre, because neem cake repels termites. Then we can go for seed treatment with insecticides like thiamethoxam 30 FS. Here remember the formulation FS, flowable for seed treatment, at the rate of 1.32 kg per 40 kg seeds, or chlorpyrifos 20 EC at the rate of 3 to 4 ml per kg seed, or one. We can drench chlorpyrifos in the soil at the rate of 1.8 to 1.2 liter per acre as soil application. So plow the soil, destroy the termite area, avoid late sowing of crop, use only well-rotten organic manure, then spread neem cake, treat the seed with either chlorpyrifos or thiamethoxam, or we can drench chlorpyrifos in the field. I will just show the pictures and finish off. See this. The plant gets completely dried up and you can see it over here. The roots are completely fed and the plant gets lodged. Okay, I'll finish off for today. So whenever you have time, just inform. For the next 2 weeks, I have examination invigilation duty. Even then, if you have some time, just inform me. Okay.
Okay, sir.